When the world talks about India's naval diplomacy, one word dominates the headlines: Malabar. The high-profile maritime exercise with the United States, Japan, and Australia has become a symbol of the Quad's military presence in the Indo-Pacific. But behind the spectacle of Malabar lies a quieter, deeper story, one that rarely makes headlines, yet carries immense strategic weight. It's the story of India's growing maritime partnerships with powers like the United Kingdom and France, relationships that are less theatrical but far more enduring. Because while the world sees India as a pillar of the Quad, New Delhi's naval playbook is far more sophisticated. A layered strategy that balances alliances, safeguards autonomy, and quietly strengthens the foundations of India's maritime power. Welcome to Strategic Vanguard. This is the story of the Indo-UK carrier group drills and how they reveal India's real game in the Indo-Pacific, a strategy that goes beyond Malabar. Before we move forward, please like, share, and subscribe Strategic Vanguard and be up to date with the latest news and happenings from the world of defense, strategic, and international affairs. Tune into our video channels in YouTube and Rumble. And if you want to hear the audio version, tune into our Strategic Vanguard channels in Spotify and Amazon Music. The relationship between the Indian and British navies is one of the most complex in modern maritime history. The Royal Indian Navy, before independence, was born out of the British naval tradition. Its doctrines, ship designs, and command culture were all molded by the Royal Navy's ethos. Yet, when India became independent, it didn't reject that heritage. It reclaimed it. The Indian Navy evolved into a proud, independent force, but retained a silent continuity with its British roots in procedures, training, and professionalism. Even today, naval officers from both countries understand each other's protocols instinctively. The bridge between them is historical, but it has matured into mutual respect. The UK may have once ruled the Indian Ocean. Today, India commands it as an equal. And this parity has allowed a unique maritime bond to quietly flourish, one rooted in shared doctrines, but aligned with new strategic realities. In 2021, the UK's carrier strike Group 21, led by HMS Queen Elizabeth, sailed into the Indian Ocean. For many, it was a ceremonial gesture, the UK demonstrating its so-called Indo-Pacific tilt after Brexit. But for India's naval planners, it was an opportunity. The deployment wasn't just symbolic, it was a floating laboratory for interoperability. The Indian Navy trained alongside the Royal Navy in complex operations, from cross-deck helicopter missions to anti-submarine warfare and coordinated carrier battle group tactics. And when HMS Queen Elizabeth conducted drills with INS Vikramaditya, it was more than a photo op. It was a dialogue between two carrier doctrines. The UK was reasserting its global naval reach, and India was showcasing its rise as a resident Indo-Pacific maritime power. These exercises proved that India's carriers, Vikramaditya and the indigenously built ENS Vikrant, could integrate operationally with Western carrier systems should the strategic environment demand it. The message was subtle but powerful. India's carrier operations were no longer regional. They were global standard. For London, the Indo-UK naval engagement is not nostalgia, it's strategy. Post-Brexit, Britain has sought to redefine itself as a global Britain, with the Indo-Pacific as a critical frontier for trade, security, and influence. But the UK's independent power projection capability in the region is limited. Its carriers are potent, but distance is a constraint. Without strong local partners, Britain's Indo-Pacific tilt would remain a slogan. That's where India steps in. India offers bases, logistics, and political legitimacy. The three pillars any global maritime power needs to operate sustainably in the Indian Ocean. By engaging India, Britain isn't just conducting exercises. It's embedding itself in the strategic geometry of the region. For the Royal Navy, operating alongside the Indian Navy provides unmatched regional insight. And for India, it's an opportunity to test tactics, technology, and coordination with one of the world's most experienced carrier fleets. It's a partnership of mutual necessity, not dependency. Unlike the Malabar exercise, Indo-UK drills don't grab the global spotlight. There are no joint press conferences, no loud declarations of strategic unity. Because India's approach to maritime partnerships is calibrated diplomacy, the Indian Navy has deliberately designed its international engagements across multiple concentric layers. The outer layer, high-visibility multilateral exercises like Malabar, for strategic signaling. The inner layer, bilateral exercises with trusted partners like the UK and France, for capability enhancement. The core layer, indigenous modernization and doctrinal autonomy. This structure allows India to benefit from collaboration without falling into dependency. Every bilateral drill with the UK strengthens operational depth. Every exchange builds confidence and familiarity between crews. And every silent handshake between admirals reinforces the unwritten rule. India cooperates on its own terms. While others play alliance politics, India plays maritime chess, balancing partners while preserving sovereignty. Before we move forward, please like, share, and subscribe Strategic Vanguard and be up to date with the latest news and happenings from the world of defense, strategic, and international affairs. Tune into our video channels in YouTube and Rumble. And if you want to hear the audio version, tune into our Strategic Vanguard channels in Spotify and Amazon Music. To understand India's quiet European strategy, you have to bring France into the picture. France and the UK may be rivals in many respects, but both see India as the anchor of stability in the Indian Ocean. France's overseas territories, Réunion, Mayotte, and New Caledonia, make it a resident Indo-Pacific power. Through joint patrols with the Indian Navy, intelligence sharing, and access to logistics hubs, France and India have built one of the most trust-based maritime partnerships in Asia. Together, France, the UK, and India form a Western European-Indian maritime triad, one based not on ideology, but on shared interests. While the US pursues military influence and Japan focuses on regional balancing, Europe's naval powers are cultivating strategic intimacy with India, an engagement of equals, not dependence. This is India's unseen diplomatic masterpiece, the creation of parallel partnerships that expand its reach without compromising its autonomy. Every carrier group drill, every bilateral exercise, and every port call is part of a larger equation. India's maritime rise is not defined by how many ships it has, but by how many strategic doors it can open without being trapped behind any. With the US, India gains technology and intelligence. With Japan and Australia, it shares regional goals. With the UK and France, it builds interoperability with global navies, quietly but effectively. This multi-layered web gives India what every great power seeks: strategic flexibility. In an era where the Indo-Pacific is becoming the world's new center of gravity, India's navy is not just a force of defense, it's a force of diplomacy. And the Indo-UK naval relationship is a case study in that art: discreet, durable, and deeply strategic. Because the measure of maritime power is not how loudly you sail, but how purposefully you navigate. Every carrier group drill, every bilateral exercise, and every port call is part of a larger equation. India's maritime rise is not defined by how many ships it has, but by how many strategic doors it can open without being trapped behind any. With the US, India gains technology and intelligence. With Japan and Australia, it shares regional goals. With the UK and France, it builds interoperability with global navies, quietly but effectively. This multi-layered web gives India what every great power seeks: strategic flexibility. In an era where the Indo-Pacific is becoming the world's new center of gravity, India's navy is not just a force of defense, it's a force of diplomacy. And the Indo-UK naval relationship is a case study in that art, discreet, durable, and deeply strategic. Because the measure of maritime power is not how loudly you sail, but how purposefully you navigate. This is Strategic Vanguard, where we look beyond the headlines to the hidden currents shaping India's rise as a maritime power. Thank you for joining us on this Strategic Vanguard deep dive. If you found value in this analysis, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We bring you fresh deep dives every Wednesday and Saturday here on YouTube and Rumble, and you can also catch the audio versions on Spotify and Amazon Music. Just search for Strategic Vanguard Deep Dive. For more insights, articles, and discussions, subscribe to our blog at strategicvanguard.com. Your support helps us grow and bring you more in-depth analysis on defense, geopolitics, and strategy. Until next time, stay informed, stay strategic.